welcome to the Brawling Pit. We talk about all things casual and kitchen table magic like Brawl and DDH. You're listening to episode 44. I'm Johnathan Tang, and he is Jacob.
Ahoy.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm not bad, man. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm not used to, not having that much time in between episodes. Hasn't even been a week.
That's right. Yeah. We all have to adjust a little bit to this, but I think this is for the better.
Yeah. So, what are we talking about today?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like I make a joke about it every week, but like that's actually what happened. You just kind of bring me on here, and you're like, we're talking about this. I'm like, okay. So, honestly,
Okay.
I'm still not quite sure what we're doing.
Okay. We're doing something new today, and it's a deck tech, so that part is not new. What's new is this deck tech is a standard deck tech, but to still apply our casual spirit into this deck tech, this is a deck that no one will expect. I mean, let me take that back. A lot of people expected it when they see those cards, but this is a deck that's so funny that when you bring it to FNM, you're gonna have a good time. It's not like cutthroat all the time. This is a fun deck that you bring to FNM. I wouldn't expect anyone to bring it to PPTQs or the like, but it's a good FNM deck, I feel like.
I think those kind of decks are, in my opinion, the most fun to bring. Because, like, if you're good at Magic or just decent at Magic or whatever, like, if you day 2 to GP or something, then, like, doing well at FNM shouldn't really be a hard task for you, So, like, yeah, you could, like, go full sweat mode and just bring, a tier 1 deck and smash everybody, or you can have a little bit of fun and challenge yourself with these wacky mechanics as we have today.
Yeah, so what wacky mechanic is it?
Well, from the looks of it, looks like we're gonna be killing people with some real thick dudes. That's 2 C's, by the way. Thick.
THICC thick.
Yes, thick dudes.
They're really thick. We're playing high alert. Yes, we're playing high alert.
We're playing Highland. This is a big butt deck. Everybody here has got a big butt.
Yep.
Like, it used to, like, not be cool to have a big butt, like, 10, 20 years ago, but now it's totally
cool. You're mistaken. It's all, this deck is all about it.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's like Sir Mix-a-Lot. Like, I like big butts, and I cannot lie, Like, that's what we got going on here.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so,
baby got back.
So, the goal of the deck is you play walls, you resolve either high alerts or Acades, and then you alpha strike for lethal. It's a 3-step program. You do one, you do the second one, and then you do the third one, and then you win the game. Or you don't win if any of those are disrupted. And this deck is good because it's powerful and you win out of nowhere. It also holds off both early aggro and the big reman that comes in at you in mid game. It's really good to play this deck in meta with a lot of aggro decks or mid-range decks. This deck is slightly weaker to the control matchup because it really is dependent on the 2 key cards, High Alert and Arcades, the strategist. So that is one of the weaknesses, is if either of those cards are removed when you're alpha striking, you're pretty much screwed.
Or even if you're not alpha striking, even if you're just in, like, the control even if you're just up against a control deck, that has a lot of removal, and they just remove anything, it's like, oh, well, I guess I'm gonna sit here and do nothing. And that's what the control player wants. They want to just sit there and do nothing until they have a million lands out.
Yeah, pretty much.
So this deck will definitely struggle against control, but otherwise looks like a pretty solid deck. A pretty solid wall deck to wall off all those horrible other decks that you might encounter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Build the walls and make them pay for it.
Exactly. Alright, so let's start by talking about the cards in our deck. The first card I'm going to talk about is High Alert. It's where this deck got its name. It's 1 white-blue for an enchantment that says each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. And creatures you control can attack as though they didn't have defender. You can pay 2 white-blue to untap target creature as well.
Normally this is kind of like a green effect. Like, historically, the assigning damage based on toughness rather than power. That's usually a green effect.
Yeah.
But no, there's no green in this card.
No green
Also,
at all.
I feel like High Alert should give Vigilance. You know, like, because, like, High Alert is literally synonymous with the word Vigilant. Or Vigilant.
That's true. I mean, it kind of gives vigilance. You just need to pay for.
Yeah, no, flavor fail. Flavor fail on this card. You know, this type of effect is usually green, and there's no Vigilance when the card is called High Alert. Flavor fail for me.
Yeah, I know. But, you know, you pay for the vigilance. You pay for it.
No, Vigilance isn't worth that much. No good.
Yeah,
no good.
This card's good. It's an enchantment, so it's hard to get rid of. But yeah, if they get rid of it, you're in trouble. So you know.
Yep. You just
try to be alerted when you're. I mean, try to be careful, be vigilant when you're playing High Alert.
Go on High Alert when you're playing High Alert.
Exactly. All right. So
what do we have next?
We have Arcades the Strategist next. It's 1 green, white, blue for 3/5 legendary Elder Dragon with flying and vigilance this time. Whenever
the Big Butt Dragon.
Big Butt Dragon. Whenever a creature with Defender enters the battlefield under your control, you draw a card. Each creature you control with Defender assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power, and can attack as though they didn't have Defender. So this is
same effect. Same effect as High Alert.
Kind of same effect. So it's basically 3 extra copies of High Alert in this deck. It also makes your walls cantrip. So now when you cast a wall, when they resolve, you get to draw a card back, which is actually
Can you
great.
imagine Wall of Omens with this card? Woo!
Oh my gosh, that's really
That's some good value.
That's drawing 2 cards, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's like I mean, Divination is 3 mana, draw 2, and no creature. But like, dude, this guy in Wall of Omens is draw 2 and get an effective 4/4 on the board.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty hilarious. I do want to point out that it's not the exact same text with High Alert, because High Alert makes all your creatures attack as though they.
That's true.
You know, make all your creature assign combat damage with their butt. This guy only does that with Defender, so it matters because there are 3 creatures. There are 3 different creatures. Sorry. How do I say that? There are 3. There are 3 creatures in this deck that didn't have Defender, but technically there are like 4 of each of them. There are a number of creatures in this deck that actually doesn't have Defender, so Arcades are not impacting them, and there is a perfect reason why they're in this deck. So we're gonna talk about them in a little bit. What do we have next?
So the next really important card is actually a split card from the recent set. Incubation and Incongruity. Basically, what these cards, I said cards with quotes because it's actually just one card, it's a split card. You're supposed to use this to look for Arcades or Deputy, and it also acts as an exile removal for 3. The left half of this Incubation reads for blue-green hybrids, 1 CMC, sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You can reveal a creature card among them and put it in your hand, and then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And Incongruity reads for an instant 1 green blue 3 CMC, exile target creature. That creature's controller puts a 3/3 green frog token creature token onto the battlefield. So, you know, it's a nice removal package in green blue, and these colors have the least amount of removal of the 5 colors. And, you know, just being able to, like, dig 5 deeper for a creature you need is nice. So this is a good card.
So what are some of the walls that Incubation can take you into?
One of the important creatures that Incubation can draw you into is Portcullis Vine. It's a 1 mana 0/3 plant wall, it just costs a single green. For Defender, you can pay 2 and tap it, sacrifice a creature with Defender, and draw a card. Quite good, because, you know, in this deck, it's if you manage to get your High Alert or Arcades on the battlefield, this is a 1 mana 3/3, which is nice. And also it allows you to cycle your creatures with Defender, you know, just into the top card of your library, which is nice. That's always a good thing to have. You may not always need it, but just like having that option there, it's very nice.
Yeah, this card is actually also especially good when you have in your opening hand against mono red. Next up, we have Grappling Sundew, which is 1 in the green for a 0/4 plant, defender, and reach. You can pay 4 in the green to give it indestructible until end of turn. Now, this guy blocks a lot of flyers. Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It blocks flyers for you, which is one of your weakness, because there are just a lot of decks with flyers in it. And this deck, this card helps you against those flyers, which is why we're running a whopping 3 of them.
It's any wall's weakness. It's just flying over.
Yeah.
You can interpret that statement any way you want, and we're not going to clarify that.
Right. It is.
We're not going to clarify that anyway.
It is a 2 mana 4/4 basically when you have your key cards out, and being able to give it indestructible is just extra gravy. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all right. You know, despite having the 5-minute ability, I would wager this is the weakest card in the deck. But it's still good.
It's not okay.
It's not bad.
Okay,
I'm not saying it's bad, but like I'd say, yeah, you know, if you were to start making cuts, maybe look for this. You know, it depends what you're
but
gonna do.
there are matchups where this matters. But you know,
oh yeah,
it's not
absolutely.
essential.
If you're like in a mono red matchup, you don't obviously cut this. You know, it's just as important as the Vines card. So
I have been testing this deck on MTG Arena, and every now and then you run to the flyer deck, and this card becomes super important.
Yeah, and you know, it's weird how like a lot of walls. Well, I need to be careful when I say this. Many walls. I would go as far as to assert over half the walls don't have reach. Now, like walls with reach aren't uncommon, but they're not exactly like super rare either. You know, like I think most of them don't have reach.
Yeah, much like this card is actually an uncommon from Guilds of Ravnica.
Yeah, it's literally it's uncommon. Literally uncommon.
The next card we're going to talk about is a common. Gleaming Barrier is 2 mana for a 0/4 wall artifact creature with defender.
Does it draw your card when it enters the battlefield? 2 mana 0/4?
Unfortunately, no. However, when it dies, creates a colorless treasure artifact token with tap, sack the artifact, and get a mana of any color to your mana pool. Surprisingly relevant. There are times where when I'm stuck at 2 mana, and this card saves my life, right? Because I know this card will die. I play it on turn 2, and they try to kill it so that they can push through. And now all of a sudden I have my 3rd color out of nowhere.
Yeah, and also it synergizes quite nicely on that same note with Portcullis Find. You know, like you're on 2 mana, you can just tap, sacrifice this wall, and now you have a treasure token, and you draw a card, so you're not down a card.
Absolutely.
So yeah, this is, you know, one of the nicer walls. No reach, but I mean 2 mana 0/4 on the wall. I think it's about standard.
Yeah, it's about standard. It's so standard that it's also on our next one.
So this one, Suspicious Bookcase.
That's suspicious.
0/4. But this one is an uncommon. It's an artifact creature. It's just 2 generic. Defender, obviously. And you can pay 3 generic, tap it. Target creature can't be blocked this turn.
Also useful in some cases.
Yeah. You know, if you're trying to like push through for damage, you have like a big boy that you're trying to get through with, and you have a suspicious bookcase on the battlefield. You can use your suspicious bookcase to, you know, sneak around back.
Yeah.
Gotta take the secret tunnel, because that's literally what's going on in this art.
Yeah. A lot of times, my opponents think it's pretty suspicious when I play Suspicious Bookcase because they have never ran to my deck before. And they're like, why is this here? Until High Alert drops.
It's suspicious.
It's very suspicious, this card.
Yeah.
We're into the territory where our creatures are no longer walls. So the next one is Deputy of Detention. It's 1 white-blue for a 1/3 token wizard.
And it's a D-Sphere on a stick.
It is.
But for those
pretty much.
But for those that are not as enfranchised as this, what is a D-Sphere? Detention Sphere.
When Deputy of Detention enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls and all other non-land permanents that player controls with the same name as that permanent until Deputy of Detention leaves the battlefield.
And so, you know, back in the day, Detention Sphere was really good.
Yeah.
It was really, really good, man. Like, it's just being able to, like, Maelstrom Pulse. Like, when Standard didn't have Maelstrom Pulse, obviously, that was very relevant.
Yeah. I think there was a missed opportunity there. They could have added this to the Magus cycle and called it Magus of Detention. I'll be fine with it. It'll have been on flavor. It'll still be a really good standard card. And it'll be a callback to Detention Spear.
And it's unfortunate because the actual Detention Spear card was better. Like, it's, usually, it's like, oh, it's incidental extra value. I get this effect and it's on the stick, right? You have a creature.
Yeah.
But, like, in reality, this card is worse than Detention Spear because Detention Spear was just an enchantment. This guy is a creature, so they get back whatever's underneath the exile effect much easier because it's a creature.
Yeah.
Also, the original Detention Sphere did not have the fixed blink effect. It had the old O-ring effect text on it.
Yep. Which makes sense.
Yeah. What that means is you could theoretically exile the Detention Sphere before, the first trigger resolved, and that way you can permanently exile something. So that's a little niche interaction that doesn't come up anymore in recent Magic because they fixed all the text and now it reads as it does now.
Yep. So yeah, that trick no longer works, and I appreciate it because there's a flicker in the limited set, so I'm happy that it doesn't come up. Yep. Next up, we have a 2-of Tetsuko Umezawa Fugitive with 1 and a blue for 1/3 legendary human rogue. Creatures you control with power toughness 1 or less can't be blocked. Guess what? Everything except Arcades in this deck has power toughness 1 or less.
We found a use for this guy. It's about time.
It is about time.
We were just saying, do you remember the Brawling Pit when we actually introduced this guy? And we're like, someone's going to find a way to use him. We did it. We did it, guys.
We did it. This card is actually amazing. There are times where when your opponents are leaving up blockers, anticipating, because if they don't block, it's lethal damage. So they leave up some blockers trying to block your walls so they can swing back for lethal. You top deck this, you play Tetsuko, and then you swing for the win. It's hilarious.
I remember I had a guy be like, man, I lost to this garbage?
Yeah. It's 2 mana, 3/3 that makes your guys unblockable. In blue.
Just as a reminder, guys, when you're calling your opponent or opponent's stuff like, oh my god, that was so bad, or that my opponent was so bad or whatever, or like his deck sucked or whatever, like you still lost to it.
Yep. You still lost to it. Pretty bad.
Oh, I love the salt.
Oh my gosh.
I love the salt.
What do we have next?
So this one is a cool card that I like, but mostly for the art. The actual text and effect is okay. And so this is Dive Down. It costs a single blue to cast for an instant. Target creature you control gets +0/+3 and gain text until on the turn. It's a decent effect, like it's a 1-for-1 on the removal, and or in this deck it's literally a combat buff. And I gotta say the art, I like the art. It's not bad.
Yeah, we're running 3-of in the main board and 1-of in the sideboard. This card is amazing. And with High Alert or Arcades, this is Giant Growth. In addition to protecting a guy.
Yeah, this standard doesn't have Giant Growth, by the way. This is the only thing you've got that's Giant Growth in this standard.
So this card not only doubles as a protection spell for any of your creatures, including Deputy, which is the most common use case for me. It might be different for you. It also helps you push 3 extra damage in your opponent's face, which is quite good. But
yeah, if you're a fan of Infect in Modern or Legacy, or you played like Brave Naya back in the day when the Return of Ravnica was in Standard, I think this is your deck.
Yeah, however, Dive Down is not as good as pushing damage through to your opponent's face than the next card. I'm gonna let you do the honors.
So this is Tower Defense.
Oh boy.
No, I'm not talking about like the video game. No. The card is literally called Tower Defense. It's 2 CMC, 1 in the green for an instant. Creatures you control get +0/+5 and gain reach until end of turn. So when you've got Tetsuko Umezawa out and you're swinging for like with 2 walls or something, and you slam down the tower, you only need like 2 walls, and this is just immense value. Imagine if you're attacking with 3 or 4 walls, and then you're smacking down. You're just gonna play down the Tower Defense card. Oh,
Yeah.
I'd be salty. I'm not gonna lie. I'd be a little salty if I'm on the receiving end of that.
Your opponents start at 20 life. If you have 2 0/4 walls that are not blocked, it's 18 damage.
And there's shock lands in this format, so it's very reasonable that it's like, oh, I'll shock, oh, you're dead.
Yep, this is like the OTK card of the deck, and it's pretty amazing. And trust me, nobody plays around this card. Nobody knows this card is there.
I wouldn't play around this deck. Like, even at FNM, I wouldn't, like, now, obviously, once they know your strategy, they know, but, like, if you had to look at it like any person and guess what deck they were playing, you would never, ever, ever guess this deck.
Yeah, which is why this deck is surprisingly powerful.
Yep. The rogue unknown factor is a real factor in brews, guys. Don't underestimate it. Like, your opponent not... Like, it seems kind of dumb, you know, because, like, everybody kind of knows each other's strategies, because a lot of the top tables play the top decks. And, you know, that's for a reason. They're the top decks for a reason, because they're optimized, you know, they're usually not too clunky. They're just generally the best decks. That's why people play them. But, like, strategically, if your opponent doesn't know what your game plan is, it's hard for them to, you know, move ahead with their own game plan. So that's why don't underestimate the surprise value. And I love this card for that.
Yeah. So the lands are probably the most expensive card of this deck. But it's also very easy. We have 4 Breeding Pool, 4 Glacial Fortress, 4 Hollow Fountain, 4 Hinterland Harbor, 4 Sun Petal Grove, and 4 Temple Garden for 26 dual lands total.
Wow. That's it?
Yeah.
Huh? No basics?
No basics. No room for basics. So
yeah, this deck is quite hard on the mana.
Yeah, fortunately, we don't have Blood Moon in our format. If we do, it's tough. It's tough. So I really hope they don't reprint Blood Moon in the next standard.
I don't think they're ever gonna put Blood Moon back in standard ever again.
I don't think so either. So yeah, this deck will be available to you for a while, and you know, even after it rotates in October, the only cards that's being rotated out is Gleaming Barrier, so you just plop in a different wall and you'll be fine. Yeah, this deck will be around for quite a while if you build this. Oh, actually,
for some people that matters quite a bit. For some people that matters a lot. So
yeah, actually, also Dive Down will also rotate out. So you know, 2 cards are being rotated out, but they're all easy.
And you know, like yes, the lands will eventually this deck is fairly cheap for the most part, but as we said, the lands are the most expensive. Honestly, if you're planning on playing standard, like just having your shock lands is good. And if you have shock lands hold their value if you're really worried about value. And we're trying very hard to not become a finance, you know, thing.
Oh, we're not finance podcast.
Yeah. Shock lands and lands in general just hold their value very well. And shock lands are played in modern, they're played in all the eternal formats. Even in, I mean, you could say, oh, they're not playing in vintage, but I mean, nobody plays vintage unless you're on the East Coast and you're in one of the states to do it. Or like Legacy, and even in Legacy, some people like Legacy, unless you're trying to like win a high level tournament, shocklands are a fine replacement for your dual land Legacy too.
Yeah, and the shocklands and checklands are also going to all your commander decks. So
yeah, so don't worry about like, oh, if I get these lands, I'm not gonna be able to like, you know, I'll never use them again if I don't like the deck or the deck rotates out or whatever. Like, you will find plenty of value for your lands. Don't worry about that. If that is the only thing that stops you from getting this deck, I would recommend just moving ahead and getting the deck. It's really good. Yeah.
So we're going to move into our sideboard. The first card we're running a one of Detention Tower. What does the card do?
Well, Detection Tower is a land.
Detection Tower.
Detection Tower is a land that taps for colorless. And this is in the sideboard because it taps for colorless. As we just mentioned, the mana is quite restrictive in this deck. So, you know, you can't really afford to run this in your main board. But I know what the card does, but I like literally read.
It's in Discord.
I know what it does though.
It's in Discord.
Detection Tower has 1 generic and tap. Until end of turn, your opponents and creatures they control with hexproof can be the targets of spells and abilities as if they didn't have hexproof. And so this is quite nice against the few decks that have problematic hexproof creatures.
Yeah. Most infamous of them is in the green Stompy deck, the No High Ferox, which is 2 green for a 6/6 hexproof. You didn't hear me wrong. It's 2 green for a 6/6 hexproof.
Dude, they could have just pumped that up to a 7/7, and when we had the 4-mana 7/7 meme.
Yep. We talked about this before.
Yeah, and this isn't the first time we've seen a 4-mana 6/6 either.
No,
we've had Desecration Demon before, and so Desecration Demon was a 4-mana 6/6 flying demon, and the only thing that quote unquote kept him in check was that at the beginning of the player that controls Desecration Demon, at the beginning of their combat, any player can sacrifice a creature, and if they do, tap Desecration Demon and put a 1/1 counter on them.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing that quote unquote put him in check, but he was still a 4 of in mono black, arguably the best deck in that standard.
Yeah, you want to know what the downside of No High Ferox is? You can't cast non-creature spells. Big whoop in the green, big whoop.
Exactly.
In the green deck.
Oh no! Darn.
Oh no, I can't cast non-creature spells.
I'm just crying as I'm dashing my opponent's skull in for 6 every turn. Oh, boo-hoo.
Oh my gosh. And, people can pay 2 to make No High Ferox lose all their abilities, but, who cares? It's 2 versus 1. And, the other quote-unquote downside of this card is if a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard No High Ferox, you put it onto the battlefield instead of putting it into your graveyard.
I love the Loxodon Smiter effect. It's so good.
Oh my gosh. It's so stupid. Let's stop talking about this card. The detection tower, the second time, the detection tower is there for just, for this card and a couple of other hexproof guys. The Stingthrow Stroke is in there to counter big dudes. We are running a 2-of that. We were also running 3 Knights of Autumn to either destroy some enchantments, or it comes in with counters on it to become a 3/3 basically in our deck. Slightly worse than the 4/3 that it could become, but I guess some cards don't get to see their full potential.
Yeah, or if you're playing against aggro, it's I can gain some life and put a blocker out. So
yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, we've already talked about this card a lot. Great card. Great card.
We're running 4 of Law Mage's Binding, which is 1 white-blue for an enchantment with flash. It enchants a creature, and that creature can attack or block and activate abilities.
It's good.
Yep, that's good. We're running 2 of Negate, and everyone knows what Negate does. It's 1 in a blue counters target non-creature spell. Running 2 of Shalai, Voice of Plenty, which is 3 in a white for a 3/4. A 4/4 in our deck that basically gives your walls and you hexproof. And you can put counters on your walls too. And then we're running...
one more copy of Dive Down.
Yep, 1 more copy of Dive Down, because you just gotta finish having the Dive Down. Against the deck with heavy removal, you want to board that Dive Down in immediately. So, that is our deck. What do you think?
Give it a 3 out of 10. No, I'm kidding. So you see, I gave it a 3 out of 10, but since we're dealing damage based on the toughness, it's a 10 out of 10.
Oh my gosh.
You see what I did there?
I see what you're doing there. So, Brawlers, what do you think? Do you like this deck as much as Jacob? Do you give it a 2 out of 10 as well? Or 3 out of 10 as well? Let us know what you think. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at Brawling Pit. Find us on Reddit at r/Brawling Pit. You can email us at brawlingpitmtg@gmail.com, or you can visit our official website, brawlingpit.com. As always, I've been Johnathan, and he's been Jacob. Thanks for listening. See you next week. All right, Jacob.
So,
Have you heard of? Are you aware of what happened with the Mythic Edition for Ravnica
uh,
Allegiance?
I might be, but why don't you tell me about it anyways, just so we know?
Well, so the story goes, I heard from a little bird that Ravnica Allegiance, the Mythic Edition, was put on to eBay because, well, their own website can't support the traffic.
Yep,
There
we
were a
remember
lot
that
of
fiasco.
yeah, there were a lot of crashing, a lot of things happening from last time to this time. They put it on eBay,
Okay, I
and
mean that makes sense, right? Website couldn't handle it. Let's outsource it.
right, and when it's on eBay, turns out a lot of people want to speculate on the product. Who knew? I, I mean,
Yeah,
I personally know someone who bought the last one because they want to flip it and make like an easy $300. So
yeah.
they
I
go
just,
for it.
uh, um, yeah, definitely people want to speculate. I mean, we've given our opinion here before. Like, don't speculate. Like, just put your money in, like like put it in a really boring S&P fund or something, and you'll make more money there, and it's safer.
Yeah, Magic is a game. It's not an investment, and the story goes that a lot of people are speculating on this current product, and you know how that artificial demand thing go where they try to pretend that a lot of people are going for a product, so they kind of bid on their own products,
Yeah,
and then so that's kind of happening. And turns out it's bad because who would have known? Like, turns out not a lot of people actually. I mean, there are a lot of people who wants the product, but the product market price keeps dropping and dropping and dropping because people are starting to figure out, oh, my product is not moving. No one is buying me. No one's buying the product at this cheap price. Right? Maybe I'll drop it a little bit more, and people will buy it. It got to a point where it's not flippable because you will not make a profit if you resell it at the market price.
yeah. Unfortunately, I'm all too familiar with artificial demand. Like, yes, there were some people that wanted this, but there were more people that wanted this with the intent to resell it rather than people that actually wanted the product to consume it. And that's an issue. Like when you have um when you're trying to be in the business of, flipping and reselling. Like the number of people that actually want to consume and take it out of the market instead of like, buying it and then putting it back on the market. Those are very distinct, roles of consumers. And, when you have artificial demand, which means that you have a lot of demand solely by people looking to flip, you have people making money off of each other. Like the money and product is just being passed around between the people looking to flip and not by people actually looking to consume the product.
Yep.
So I'm glad because we're not magic finance people here, but that doesn't mean that we're financially dumb. Both of us, we have a lot of money finance experience, and I tried to do the magic finance game for a while too. I succeeded at it. I made some money. I didn't
You
lose
spend
in
a
the long
lot of
term.
time in it, though. I mean, like if you figure out how, like, I think you actually didn't make the profit if you take an opportunity cost of your time because you
Oh yeah,
spend
no,
a
no. If we
lot
take,
of
yeah,
time on it.
absolutely. I was just about to get into that. If we take into account opportunity cost, and like that's what I was about to say. If I had just like put that money in like a really boring like index fund or something, I would have made way more money and saved a lot of time.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know why people do it. I guess they just really enjoy doing it, but I would just never ever do this. Like the singles market is saturated as it is. It's a rough business out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's attractive for some people, but for me personally, not enough money in it for me to do it.
Yep. So what did we learn from this event? Even though
Uh,
neither of us were involved.
well, we learned that the speculators got screwed over a little bit, which is all good by me because It's literally like the ticket rebuyers or the ticket buyers that like they have bots set up to like buy concert tickets at like immediately when they come out, and then
Oh
they
yeah.
resell them. They're
Oh yeah.
literally looking to take money from consumers, like other consumers that actually want to consume, and they do absolutely no work to earn it, other than like I'm gonna buy it right away.
Yeah, it makes no sense though. Sometimes, I mean,
Like,
this is just an anecdote, but like when I go to, for example, PAX, you see all these people trying to resell their ticket outside. Like they have like 5 or 10 tankers like in front of their chest, and they're like, "Do you want a PAX ticket? Why would I not have a PAX ticket when I'm there already?"
yeah.
Right?
So it's for me. It's I know this is arbitrary, and some people are okay with this. But for me personally, it's like there's no value added to it. It's like if I were to buy directly from Wizards, or if I were to buy from like a reseller or like a flipper, like there's no difference in like the end. Like my experience isn't any better, the product isn't any better. Like there's no value added. It's literally just and this is assuming that the speculation worked and it was like a limited print run or something, right? Like it's like
Yeah.
I mean, you camped the store page first, or you had a bot do it for you, and I didn't. So you got to buy it first, and now I'm stuck giving you the difference. Like that doesn't. It just rubs me the wrong way. But I understand it's very arbitrary.